When I make my content, I try to approach things from the perspective of the average consumer, the low spender, the free-to-play player, looking at value, investment, and how characters perform in real case scenarios. With the release of Cartethyia and Wuthering Waves, there's already discussion about how much investment is required to unlock her full potential. Some players argue that to truly bring out her strengths, you need not only her signature weapon, which scales on HP, but also Ciaccona, a character who was featured just before her banner. That kind of setup raises a fair question. How accessible is Cartethia's full potential to the average player? Pridwin has just updated their tier list for Wuthering Waves, and today we're going to take a closer look at where Cartethyia stands. Does she rely too heavily on synergy like Zani Peeb, or is she more versatile than people think? Let's get right into it. Okay, so let's take a look at the tier list. Looks like Cartethyia debuts in T0, and then we have 0.5 in Wuthering Waves, which says a lot, right? That does say a lot. Her kit it actually has some really good AoE in it. Yeah, let's see what changed in the changelog. All right, so Cartethyia has shaken up the threshold for DPS characters by a good amount. In Tower of Adversity, that is, her damage potential on top of her ease of use makes us consider leaving her as the only T0 character. Wait, hold on, I gotta read that again, hold on. Her damage potential on top of her ease of use made us consider leaving her as the only T0 character. Wow. But from our current testing, especially keeping in mind that we are grading her using her signature weapon, we deem that it's too early to simply declare her that much of a level above everyone else. Wow. Especially with DPS queens like Zani and Carlotta, we will conduct further testing and see if the DPS rankings need a big shape up in time for Lupa's release, but note that we don't expect this to happen. However, this is something for you to keep in mind. We welcome your feedback regarding Cartethia's performance as DPS and her best team in relation to the other characters. Holy. Did they give her the... Is she being watched? Okay, so I guess I wouldn't be able to tell if she's being watched because the eye symbol is blocked by the new. So maybe she is just being watched. Interesting. They're looking to actually bump everyone else down, which is insane, which that actually says a ton. Added as a T0 DPS in her best team under the right conditions is the best DPS in the game in Tower of Adversity. No sugarcoating here. Her damage numbers are extremely high on all her abilities. She is self-sufficient to an extent, completely self-sufficient with sequences, by the way. Even obviously that's not considered on the tier list, and while she does depend on teammates to activate her full potential, under the right conditions, she'll tear even the strongest enemies apart in just a couple rotations. Pair that with abilities to quick swap and work under even free-to-play teams, you will have a DPS powerhouse capable of handling every situation from single target to AoE. Like we explained before, she made us reconsider dropping every other DPS a tier below, but we're holding back on that for now until we have properly tested her out and made absolutely sure she is a definitive cut above the rest. Until then, rest assured, she's definitely T0. Wow. Holy, that says a ton. I don't know if I've ever seen a statement like that from them before. So what do they have down here at the review? Holy, very expensive, team reliant, signature weapon reliant, even buffed by teammate. Signature weapons requires your other characters to adopt unconventional builds, herself being built unconventionally as she scales off of HP. Be prepared to dump a lot of resources into this character to unleash her full potential without the possibility to share her build with anyone else. That's the thing. That's the thing, right? If we're looking, wait, hold on. Can have difficulties keeping arrow erosion stacked up in AoE scenarios. She kills all enemies at once. Okay, yeah, that's mostly a Whimpering Waste thing. But if we look at build, her weapon is so much better than all her other options. And then the downside to that, I guess, is if you were to pick up this weapon, it's HP scaling, right? So it's not like you can just throw it on anyone else. It's like you kind of like, if you want this character to perform at her max potential, then it's a good idea to pick up this weapon. Holy. But yeah, then her second best weapon's Red Spring, and then Emerald of Genesis, which everyone should have. A 26.89% better than Emerald is pretty massive. Gameplay in teams, like, look how simple her rotation is. The biggest selling point for me, and is why I pulled the character, and then obviously Wuthering Waves having the guaranteed weapon banner helps a ton, because that it is looking like a weapon you're really going to want just because it's scaling with HP. And you can see here, like, Zani has the partner tag, right? Whereas Cartethyia doesn't have to rely on anyone. That's absolutely massive. She is, like, very self-sufficient. However, if you do want her true performance, and I really wish, because here it shows the percentages for weapons, I wish they would do the same thing on this tier list for teams. I would love to see that for teams. In the, like, optimal rotation, what's the percentage of this team versus this team? But yeah, I think that would be ideal. I'm myself probably just gonna run the expert quick swap, get that down, and then when Ciaccona reruns, I'll probably pick up Ciaccona. I was speaking with friends in Discord earlier. I'm hoping these reruns, like, obviously we just had a bunch of reruns, right? We just had them all stacked up, but typically WUA does limited character, second half of the patch rerun, limited character, second half of the patch rerun. Hopefully this remains the same with the Septimont characters, and they're not just released back to back to back to back to back, but we'll just have to see what happens. Did you pull for Cartethyia? Did you pull for Cartethyia without Ciaccona just because you really like the character? I would like to know your thoughts down below on the tier list. I'm not gonna lie, I did look at this earlier on stream, but I didn't read the changelog. I had no idea they're thinking about moving everyone else down. That says a lot about the power of this character, but I still have a lot more testing to do myself. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.